Hey, Steve Vignani here with more Junkyard Crawling. The boots are on and we are in Berniston, Massachusetts at Berniston Auto Wrecking with the very first of the mighty Toyota Celica Supra dynasty, 1979 through 1981. Actually 78 was the first year, but 78 through 81, these were, well, about the hottest thing that Toyota had to offer. Now these look a lot like a Toyota Celica, but here's the thing. 5 inches extra wheelbase was added here to make room for, not the 4-cylinder, but the 6-cylinder, 2.8 liters, 140 or so horsepower, and this is the engine that separated the Supra from the Celica. And this car was meant to go up against the 280ZX and to a lesser degree Chevy's Corvette. Now these things new were priced about $9,600, which was about $4,500 less than a Corvette. And yes, some people might cross shop the Corvette and the Supra, but most of these Supras were purchased by guys who might have otherwise purchased a 280ZX from Nissan or Datsun, whatever they call themselves that week. Now the thing is, this has a fairly mundane engine today, but back in 1978 through 81, this is an overhead cam inline 6. Now the overhead cam gives it better breathing. It only has 2 valves per chamber, but again, fairly exotic stuff for 1981. Fuel injection seen here, no carburetors on this, and these came with either a 5-speed manual or an automatic. Now the thing about the Supra that set it off immediately from lesser Celicas was, again, this longer front wheelbase. You got to see it after a while, but those 14 by 5.5 inch aluminum wheels, which today are kind of laughable in how small they are, but the 5.5 inch width was an inch wider than what you'd find on a Celica, and the Celica wheels generally were stamped steel. So these were fairly exotic cars. Of course, here at the back of the Targa band at the B pillar says Supra. It's even reflective and it still has a bit of its shine, but you know, it's pretty cool. Now inside, what have we got? The automatic or the stick. Go on in there, Mr. Cameraman, and take a peek. That's the 5-speed stick shift, which has overdrive in top gear, which gives you a nice low RPM for highway cruising, better fuel economy. And this one has an unusual infotainment system. There's an AM/FM head up top in the dashboard. That's standard stuff, but down below it, the graphic equalizer and the tape deck, which back in 1981 was very exotic stuff. And speaking of exotic, this one does have standard power windows, tilt column. So again, the Supra for $9,600, you got a fair amount of value and luxury. One thing about the Supra was 4-wheel disc brakes. At the rear, the Supra does have the same live axle as a Celica, but again, it's gone here. While the Celica would have had drum brakes, Supras were 4-wheel disc. And again, in 1978 through 81, that was pretty exotic stuff. Very few cars on the road had 4-wheel disc brakes at this point in time. So on the back of this one, you know, all Supras, of course, with 2-door hatchbacks, and we have the EFI logo at the trunk here. Indicating, of course, fuel injection, which was a big deal in the late 70s, early 80s when carburetors were being phased out. EFI does a lot of good things for an engine, cleans it up, and it makes it more efficient from a standpoint of fuel economy and power. The rear wiper arm on this one here, still present and kind of accounted for. But this is the beginning of the Supra dynasty. I believe something like 6 generations of Supra followed this, and they grew from strength to strength. So that's the story of the very beginning for Supra. This is a 1981, the end of the line for this first gen, but a pretty cool car. Sadly, I think it's stuck here in the boneyard for eternity, but it lives on here in this video. And if you like these videos, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Maggs YouTube channel.